Continuing on with our must-draft fantasy baseball video series, this time we're going to do the American League West. One hitter, one pitcher on every team that Jeff Erickson loves at their ADP. Starting with the bottom of the division from last year, Texas Rangers. Who's the hitter that you're targeting at ADP?
But if you're really waiting on getting a catcher, Jonah Heim's sitting out there at 450. If you decide you're not going in like the 19th round for that second catcher, okay, Jonah Heim, I think he's going to play more than the other Texas catchers. Has a power upside. This is when you're digging in the trenches, find that second catcher. Find a one that does one good thing, whether it's power, whether it's hitting for average, maybe he gets 5 stolen bases. Try to find that one thing. So Heim's my guy at 450.
Are any of the pitchers appealing to you during the course of the draft? Who's it going to be?
I like Jon Gray, who just signed with them this year. Gets away from Colorado. And ironically, I know Gray had better home splits than road splits last year, but Texas has a really good track record signing veteran pitchers and getting them to max out what they did recently. You look at like Ian Kennedy, you look at Kyle Gibson, you look at Lance Lynn, for crying out loud. I think Jon Gray could be Lance Lynn. And at pick 247. Yeah, give me that all day. I'll have a lot of Jon Gray on my teams.
On the LA Angels, who's looking good from an ADP perspective from the hitters?
This is the land of the second catcher, apparently, because I'm going to go with another one, Max Stassi at 293. Good hitter. He'll split some time this year. I think a little less than last year. Kurt Suzuki was there last year. I don't think that's going to be – I think Matt Thaiss is going to be the guy that splits time with him now as the backup catcher. So that means I think Stassi actually gets a little bit more playing time. So he's like round pick 300. If you don't get Stassi, you go with Heim, but I like Stassi better.
Who's the pitcher that is definitely going to crush their ADP this year?
He's the guy I'm going to pay at cost for ADP. I'm going to pay up for Raisel Iglesias. If you've been following any of the Twitter debate, any of the debate in podcast circles about closers and how they're getting pushed up this year, I think it's worth it for Iglesias if you're paying like pick 35, which is on average where he's going in draft champions leagues. In other leagues, he might be even going a smidge later. I won't pay a second round price for him on a 12-teamer, maybe not even for a 15-teamer, depending where we're at. But I'm still seeing him go in the 30s in a lot of places. And I think when we get back to leagues where there's fab, I think that's where he'll settle in, is the third round price. I believe in getting the early closer. Iglesias is super stable, lots of Ks, and he's got the job. He'll get the saves.
Who's the non-obvious hitter on the Oakland A's that you're scooping up in most of your drafts?
I think I'm going to just scoop up last year's bum, Matt Chapman. Going 100 picks lower than what he was going last year. I know he's coming off a hip injury, but I think he's had that full year to recover from the hip injury. I think he'll have a little bit of a dead cat bounce. Be aware, batting average is a risk here with him, but you're getting power at pick 188 at really cheap at a position that's fraught with peril at third base.
Is it going to be a left-hander or a right-hander for your pitcher on Oakland?
Chris Bassitt. We're going old and boring here, kind of like me, for you TikTok people here. 134 is where he's going. I wonder what happens to the A's as a team. They're kind of peeling off some players. After the lockout ends, they might trade Matt Olson. This might become a bad team, but I think Chris Bassitt's still getting undervalued despite all that. And I like guys that I know he's going to go out and get his 30 starts, and he's going to get me good ratios to go with that there. So I think Bassett's underrated.
Let's talk about Seattle. They had 90 wins last year. Who's the hitter that sticks out right now that you must draft?
What if I told you could get a guy that had 89 runs last year at pick 313? You can. That's JP Crawford. I would take a look at him especially if you're looking to fill that middle infield slot. You've already got one shortstop, maybe even it's almost a reserve in a 12-team league. But I think that there's a lot of upside there on a lineup that I think will be better this year too. I also like Mitch Haniger for the price at 123 as well.
Is there a Seattle pitcher that you just must have no matter which draft you're doing?
Man, you like to polish that player a little bit more, especially when it's Marco Gonzalez. I don't know if it's a must-have, but we are titled Must Draft AL West Players, so you must. No, but Marco Gonzalez at 332 gets you some K, not as many Ks as some of the other guys on this list, but he's going to get you ratios, and I predict Seattle will be a good team again. I think he's a double-digit wins guy. Little frustrating early part of the year last year, really finished strong. I like what he did down the stretch, and I'm buying into that.
Who's your favorite Houston Astro hitter to draft this year?
Yuli Gurriel, another like 85 guy in terms of runs and RBI, high average. You're not going to get the huge power out of him. So your question is how you're building your team. If you're looking for a late average guy, Gurriel is absolutely the guy you turn to here.
A lot of good pitchers on Houston that I'm sure you're trying to pick from, but who's the one that is the best considering the cost?
It's Luis Garcia, but I like all of them. I mean, I'll pay for Verlander at the cost. I'll pay for Framber at the cost, but I like Luis Garcia at 142. Lots of strikeouts. He added velocity in the playoffs. Very interesting to see that. Durability might be a slight concern. He took on a bigger workload than he's done in previous years. That's probably the one thing I'd worry about a little bit. But again, he's not your first or second starting pitcher. He's your third or fourth. I like that price for him.
If you like this video, remember to click the subscribe button and get all of our content on YouTube for free. And meanwhile, you could also see our fantasy baseball draft kit, our rankings, podcasts, premium articles. You can see everything right now for free for 10 days. Go to rotowire.com/try.